Have you got a passion project that lights you up but needs some more insider tips to take it to the next level? Bootstrap Banter is your new go to podcast. We are all about real talks and no fluff. Just actionable advice and inspiring stories from people like you who turn their passion into a thriving projects and then to startups. Whether you're just starting out or already on your way, we have got the strategies to help you push you through the roadblocks. In this series, you will hear real world strategies to grow without burning out or breaking the bank. Honest, no nonsense advices to help you level up your passion project. Whether it's marketing, scaling, or just finding the right directions, we are here to help you thrive. Book your strategy session today. Go to passionatepulse.com and contact. That's passionatepulse.com, one stop shop for your bootstrap banter. If you are a founder who has built something very meaningful, but it is just not landing the way you had expected it, then this is a must listen episode for you. Not because your product is weak, not because you didn't work hard enough, but because your go to market mistakes are rarely obvious when you are inside the business. Most founders don't fail from lack of talent, they fail from unclear positioning, misunderstood perception, and marketing that started too late or in the wrong direction. Here is an uncomfortable truth. You can't really out execute a broken GTM strategy. And visibility without credibility only makes the confusion louder. In today's Bootstrap Banter, we are talking about how founders get it right the second time and how the first time founders should or can avoid learnings the hard way by understanding what's already proven, what's already broken, and what mistakes don't need to be repeated. This is an episode for founders who are relaunching after a quiet first attempt, solopreneurs ready to be taken seriously as their brands, leaders who know that they need clarity before they scale, and anyone who realizes that doing everything yourself isn't the same as doing it right. At Passionate Pulse, we don't just talk about the growth, we absolutely help building corporate trust, helping founders to have their narratives travel and evolve when they stop guessing and start designing their go to market intentionally. If you are ready to shift from tactics to strategies, noise to narrative, and effort to an alignment, then stay with me because this is a conversation that might save you months or years of expensive trial and error. Let's deep dive on this Bootstrap Banter episode today. Namaskar, welcome to the Bootstrap Banter episode. This is a segment where we talk about what we do, and of course, we also help first time founders, startups to help fix their narratives, to create their brands, establish the trust that they're looking forward to, and also help them with this podcast on what are some of the important strategies, tactics, and the structural zones in which they should be reflecting on their businesses. If you need help in your business to grow, if you need any help to fix your business alignments or even to fix your go to market strategy or building the credibility that you're looking forward to, or if you have a story that needs to be traveled far beyond the boards, then we are here to take out your stories and shape them in a way that your brand excels and your business travels faster than you think it could have. Well, after working with many startups and founders, here is the hard truth that I have realized that most founders don't fail because they're not trying hard. They are absolutely doing whatever in their capacity. They have tried everything and working very hard at their own businesses, but here is the truth that I have realized that they were very weak in their fundamentals. And fixing the fundamentals have accelerated their growth, have provided them the path which is working on their revenue engine. So that is where we are trying to deep dive in today's Bootstrap Banter. Products don't usually fail. They definitely fail in positioning, perception, and the distribution that they are looking forward to acquire with. So this is the thought that I was running by, and I actually was looking out, especially with the founders or the startups that I'm working with. They are coming after a lot of failures have occurred. Some of them are also the second time founders, who realize that chasing the tactics or DIY stuff, or learning everything by yourself and trying to implement in all the directions is not something that are gonna give them a margin that they're looking forward to, whereas designing with the clarity is, and for that they start investing. So here is the first lesson that I've learned, especially after working with many startups and many founders. So let's deep dive on this segment just to give and resonate with an idea. Why really the second time founders win faster versus the first time founders? What is that lies within that just doesn't reflect in the first time founders? To say that, yes, the second time founders are wise enough, especially after burning out tight, or I could say that a lot of mistakes actually make them wiser. And when they reflect on it, and the second time they decide to either relaunch or pivot or whatever it is, at that time they kind of gain the clarity. This is how they think, this is how they'll evolve. But what just they do is very important for first time founders mindset to learn from. Is when they were first time founders, probably they have built faster, they have marketed later, they might have assumed the customers will absolutely get it, and also tried to do everything by themselves or all by themselves. Even the solopreneurs, I feel the same for them, that they're doing the same. Solopreneurs doesn't mean that it should be a one person company or a solo company. It can absolutely have a part-time wings, handling your functions well. And last important thing is, they everything that we learn when going with this kind of a mindset is burning your money, burning your time, burning your resources. Whereas the second time founder mindset is mostly, and this is what I have observed, because most of the time I end up working with the second time founders and or who had this kind of a mindset, who have failed with their initial projects or whatever, they have learned that designing the GTM very early matters the most. Even before your product is finished, testing your perception, testing your proof of concept before you start scaling on what is working, what is not right, or start selling also helps better. Seeking your experts intentionally, especially in the areas where you lack that kind of a wing. This is also an area where they decide to improvise at a go when they're designing their products, and learning from the patterned failure. There are always some of the patterns that every individual get into. It need not be the company wise, but especially the leaders who are designing those products. Inherently, they have certain weaknesses. As a human being, we all have weaknesses and strength. But then, with those weaknesses, if you try to build something, there are certain patterns you start collecting. Especially when I'm looking or working or doing the reverse engineering with my clients, this is what I've realized, that there are certain patterns that comes from a certain type of personality of the founders, and that reflects in their own corporates, that reflects in their product making journey, or putting the product into the positioning journey. All in all, experience doesn't make founders arrogant, is what I've figured it out. It only makes them very selective how they work, what they do. They know what exactly are their boundaries, where to step back, where to stay no, what kind of invitation should not be allowed at a particular phases. So that's the wise statement of the second time founders, is what comes through. So, the lesson for the first time founders, and that's what the Bootstrap Banter is all about, is you really don't need to fail to learn. You can absolutely listen to a lot of people who have already been in there, done that, and have projected those mistakes in a very, very vivid way. Taking examples from those mistakes, drawing those experiences, and relating to your own journey can help you fix the glitches that you are on today. And look at this as a learning, and figure out certain areas, whether you're failing at GTM positioning, whether you're failing of giving your product perception to your audience, or you're absolutely failing to niche down your own audience. This is one of the most costliest mistake that most corporates, most startups end up doing. It's not just for the first time founders, but I have also seen the second time founders having the product and trying to go and double down the clients, which is something it's just not gonna convert. Maybe it's a price point because of which your product is just not adaptable, or because somebody is piggybacking some of the other products similar to yours, which is your primary product, and giving it absolutely for free, or just capping it at a level where your primary product are selling much better, and somebody is just getting a free product on top of that, because they're just doing a piggy banking with the second line of the product that they have. And because of that, the first time founders who are actually working in those zones where they have the very finished line of the product, but since it is charging more than something which is piggyback one, is absolutely failing. Well, the classic example that I know from my own experience for the particular client of mine with whom we worked is they have got an HR solution, and the HR solution that they have is phenomenal. Especially, like, the reward system that they have it in place, the type of feedback that they're listening from their staff to the management and back and forth. It's an amazing system that they have. But they were just not selling enough, not because their product wasn't good, but because that was their primary product. And there were bigger sharks in the market, such as Oracle and other products, who were giving that kind of solution for absolutely free to the enterprises who are taking certain ERPs or SAP products, which are like a bigger enterprise product where the Oracle was, standing for. And this was a classic case study that helped me understand that why this product was not selling. Of course, with the market competition, with the type of products, they were probably having the much higher and a better features and the more efficient ways to fix the gaps that the HR solution should have provided. But the gap was not just the product, not just the features, but more onto the pricing part, more onto the piggy banking strategy that the bigger sharks were using to sell their secondary line of product. And that's when we realize that this particular product needs an absolute fix in the positioning, finding out their right audience versus going and looking out the normal factories where there is an ERP implemented, where there is a SAP and bigger enterprise products are already coming across, or piggy banking those kind of HR solutions. So we decided to zone out absolutely after realizing that these are the places, where you just cannot make the sale or you cannot enter a market. And we found out that they have to carve out their niche where these are the things which are absolutely fragmented. People are not investing high enough to hold those kind of enterprise solutions where they're not getting these HR solutions as piggy banking product. And we realize the senior care, senior patient outreach, and there are a lot of other centers where these are the systems can turn out very powerful because the type of customization they had, they could easily tweak the product for the type of staff they have, the type of explicit services that they were providing to the human care or the senior citizens or the families who are having the old age parents and looking out to have these kind of centers to work at their maximum capacity. And bingo, that's where the customer converted. And once it is locked for the lifetime because the type of packages that you will drive with, and those are the different strategies for the pricing that we opted for, gaining those kind of a niche customers. And after realizing that this works pretty solid, we shifted the whole narrative, we shifted the whole positioning, and we shifted the whole pricing module that they had. And well, I'm glad that that worked for them. Now they're churning the revenue to an extent that the last 2025, they just reached $1 million of revenue just by acquiring those kind of customers. And then, of course, the narrative of that, the story that we bring onto the platforms, and the type of companies are depicting their product has totally shifted from what it was before. And absolutely, that was an 8 years of prior journey that they observed that was just not converting, although having a solid product on the shelf. So that's something is a mindset to learn that if you're failing at those kind of way, if you don't know where your customer is residing, having all these AI help as well, I have realized that at the end of the day, the humans, the founders, the startups, the corporates, the stories are still repeating. They are still not being able to niche down or carve out the type of a niche where they should be, going and doubling down, finding their right audience, and whatever that they are looking forward to get an answer from the absolute available help through AI platforms, which can, of course, it can save a lot of cash beforehand. However, if the messaging goes incorrect, if everything goes incorrect, then what you are amplifying are just the mistakes. And that's where I want to bring in that the perspective when you work with certain consultants who are helping you realize your real market fit, who are helping you, guiding you, and finding those right customers or giving you those warm introductions to get started can always give an upper hand. Well, the second thing that I wanted to bring it to attention is getting it right when on the second time. And there are different examples that we can provide about the perception. When Airbnb had launched, and it's the first company for the founders, and it's the same thing, they actually made it work, but nobody knows the journey of how Airbnb succeeded. Well, they had initially a lot of trust issues. People were not booking the houses. In fact, many thought that this is a crazy idea, that I simply cannot go to somebody's house when I don't know what I'm gonna face or whatever. But they fixed a lot of trust just online, bringing the right professional photography, bringing the storytelling angle to their product, which was a massive shift that occurred. And that changed the perceptions of home sharing. In fact, a lot of owners who had the second home started putting their homes on the Airbnb as well. Also, that storytelling helped the end user who is actually planning to rent out and finding it's better than hotel, where they can have a lot of children coming and staying with them. Different families can create memories. They can absolutely cook in the place which is distant from their home places and can enjoy the towns, at the same time enjoy the homeliness and the comfort that it brought them as a second home. So, see, they did not change the product, but they changed how it was been seen. And storytelling was a most important, or rather the primary factor that helped them change their perception. Let me come back to this again and again, because this is where I have realized, and honing on to exactly content marketing and media things, that has absolutely given a leverage to companies, startups, founders, that how they have been perceived by their audience. And with that, the trust has brought in, with that, conversion has happened, and with that, people absolutely break the barriers, try the products because they were trusting for some brands, because they were trusting the founder and how that story had shaped their narratives. This is something is, our best in our capacity, I would say. Passionate Pulse brings those kind of stories for founders, for startups, for corporates. And we also do that documentation style, which they absolutely use it on their website. Even, the YouTube ads that you must have spotted, a lot of companies are running in order to captivate a certain type of audience, certain type of customers, and market their product. This is exactly is the work that we do at Passionate Pulse. So if you're someone who is looking to build your story, looking to shape your narrative, looking to position your product and perception, you must knock down to our doors and see whether we can make a difference to you. Well, the number to call is 341-209-0102. If you are struggling with GTMs, positioning your product, building the trust in your products or the corporate, we are here to tell your stories. We are here to shape your narrative. We are here to guide your marketing strategies and also fix the positioning where certain things have just not gone right. Call us or write us at info@passionatepulse.com. Feel free to look at our website, passionatepulse.com. We are here to promise you to shape your narratives, to fix your positioning, to fix your broken alignment, and bring the story that world needs to hear, your customers needs to hear. Well, going forward, another important factor that I see when, the first time founders are struggling is the package and a focus. This is a very important part where I have seen that aligning their product suites into the package and bringing the focus back to what you're supposed to share, what you're supposed to capture with the audience. It is one of the misery where, the startups don't get it right. Let me relate the story about the Instagram. It was originally known as a Bourbon. It was a very cluttered app having tons of features working excellently, but user was very confused in what to use, how to use, and things like that. When they realized that the users were not adopting, not because the features are not excellent, they were like very nerdy, and how they were appearing was not that intuitive. That's when they decided to cut down on everything but just keep the photo sharing app initially. And after that, they put a lot of efforts in their UI UX design to make it clean and very intuitive packaging that they brought to the product. And that was a second time success, which came not from elevating anything, not by, positioning in a very different way, but by absolute subtraction that they needed on their product. Well, many products that we use in our portfolio for GTM strategies or doing tons of work that we do behind the wheel, we also have realized that some of the products that we have amazing capacities and features, but they are not just intuitive enough. They're also being too complex to realize that, we are supposed to use those features to make your life better. And this is where we have guided the platforms that we have used our alpha, beta customers and told them like, hey, these are certain areas, they're excellent, but they needs to be cutting down. Or rather, keep your focus at your primary function and just double down on that. Just, make sure that you go more efficiently in that. Well, as a founder, I know it does hurt, but the fact is, as a part of a business, as a part of a revenue growth, that doesn't come handy. So we have to be very focused where we are putting our energy and resources to build our product and captivate the revenue versus, making the product shine through all the angles and then struggling across the board. And the last and a very important, the P that I wanted to mention today is the piggy bank and the perseverance. Well, Netflix story is well known. When they were into the DVD adoption, they actually used the DVD adoption as a piggybacking method and then evolved in the streaming. And now we see that where it is standing. Netflix has absolutely taken out, rather, those DVD business is no longer in an existing mode because of their streaming capacity and also putting more and more into creating independent creators, giving them the platforms which the traditional production houses of the film industry or the media industry was not providing. And now we see that the Netflix have changed the way the creators are adopting, right? In fact, many people are getting the Netflix grants to host their creation, host their content. They're not really, really dependent on that conventional model of the media and the content building. Well, so that is something is a cultural shift. Netflix got it without fighting the existing traditional board. That is what the piggy banking and the perseverance story was all about. So there are few things that you must remember before you start scaling up, before you know that things are just not working or getting burned out. The first thing is the positioning. Second thing, what promise you do and how qualitatively you deliver that. That comes with the positioning. And the third one is the package and focus. And fourth and fifth are piggy banking and perseverance about your product, about your audience, about your customers, and lot of things that needs to shape right. So well, all of this, all in all, these are the few things that I wanted to mention it on today's episode of Bootstrap Banter. If you're someone who is struggling in any of the areas, or you think that why I'm just not getting there, why my revenue is just not meeting the cost that I'm putting it into the operations, or why I'm struggling to acquire the customers in the niche that I know it's perfect to get into, or why I'm not getting the customers in the niche that I know it's the right or the perfect niche that I am supposed to, have my product position to or have my marketing narratives and everything. Why somebody just not trusting my brand? Well, all of these issues are very, very fragmented and they start with one positioning, one focus, and one perception. And all of them are, my dear friends, we fix at Passionate Pulse. So if you are looking forward for those kind of strategy and the guidance sessions, and if you need an execution, we are here to help you with all in one marketing strategy consulting and helping you gain more customers wing. Well, so knock on our doors whenever there is a need, knock onto our doors to even understand and book your 30 minutes of free calls with us to just see whether there is something out there that you can get in that 30 minutes of knowledge sharing, or in the 30 minutes of listening to you and equipping you with that one solution that you can implement right then and there itself. And if you need more, we are here to help you. Write us at info@passionatepulse.com or simply call us at 341-209-0102. Well, I'm taking a leave from this bootstrap banter right now. However, Make sure you stay focused and stay passionate.